Hello and welcome everyone. I'm just gonna grasp somewhere my earphones, so that's maybe a little easier. And all welcome in Amsterdam. Maybe some of you just had a tour in Amsterdam because I saw that my colleague Mark was just. Oh no! Wait! I'm just doing something. Just I hope you can. I hope you can all hear me well. And welcome in one of the most beautiful areas of Amsterdam. The tour will start in 1 minute and 20 seconds from now, and I see already a lot of people logged in. So all very welcome in Amsterdam. While I'm still sitting here to prepare the last things for the tour, and I see more people are joining in the meantime. It is a beautiful day today. So that's lucky. It is June, so that's always the most beautiful month. I think if you wanna travel to the Netherlands, I can recommend you to come in June for sure. So okay, wait, let me just prepare a little more. So also get this nearby. So all welcome. I see a lot of people. I see a lot of names that I know. I also see a lot of names that I don't know. My name is Stefan. I will do that introduction again in like 1 minute from now. Um, but let me know if you haven't been on a tour with me before, then of course you're extra welcome. But also if you've done 1, 10, 100, or maybe all of my, 250 tours that I've been doing in the last 1.5 years, of course you're all very welcome. So my first tour. Oh, Jennifer, you're very welcome. If there are more people, oh, Lou also, Linda. Okay, it's all their first tour. Samantha, first tour. Wow, Rebecca, first tour. All very and Pavel, first tour. Bill, the first tour. Wow. Eve, your first Amsterdam tour. Megan, Leah. Thank you, Jose, for and it's now Rochelle, also the first tour. So we have a lot of newbies today, but that's good. That's good. Hopefully you will enjoy it. And also Wendy is the first tour with me now. Hopefully, and Claudia, yeah, I've seen you before, but of course you're also welcome. So welcome in Amsterdam again, all of you. My name is Stefan. I'm a guide in the Netherlands and in Belgium, living in Amsterdam, so the capital of the Netherlands. And for today, I'm gonna do a very special tour for today, because today I'm gonna tell you a little more about, I think, the most famous girl of Amsterdam, named Anne Frank. And I think a lot of you, maybe it's a long time ago already. For me, it was when I was reading this the first time, it was a long time ago. But a lot of people did read somewhere this book, The Famous Diaries of Anne Frank, or how it was originally written in Dutch. It was you read it, and Suzanne, maybe it's a long time ago. For me, I reread it several times, of course, also to do this tour. But the Diaries of Anne Frank nowadays translated in over 70 different languages, but originally only written in Dutch, because Anne Frank was a Dutch girl. Oh, by the way, she was originally a German girl, but growing up in the Netherlands and um, writing her diaries in Dutch. And you can see that I've been reading this book a little more, and I'm using it for several tours. So okay, I all wanna welcome you again, and what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna take you through Amsterdam, tell you about the story of Anne, tell you about the things that happened between in the time that she was living over here. And it's good to know for people that we will not go inside the Anne Frank house. So we're not going inside in the Anne Frank house because that is not allowed. That's not allowed. No guide is allowed to go inside there. I tried, but they didn't allow me, as they don't allow other people to guide in there. Virtual or non-virtual, both not allowed. So, but I found a solution for that, and maybe some of you did see that last week, and if not, I'm gonna do that in July again. I don't know the exact date, but somewhere in July I will go again, uh, in a virtual reality tour. I'm going virtual through the Anne Frank house. So that will be an at-home tour, and we can go with a 360 in a sort of a 360 simulation through the house. So and yes, Linda, that's also good to know, because Linda is saying it's nice you are offering this tour today on her birthday and also your birthday. Linda, I wish you a very nice birthday. But yeah, that's true. Because we have to go back a long time. I'm never very good in maths, but I think it's 93 years ago now that Anne Frank was born, and she was not born here in the Netherlands, but she was. Thank you, Anna. Hello, colleague. No, but she was originally born not in the Netherlands, but in Germany on today exactly 93 years ago, Frankfurt, Germany. And I even have a picture from when she still was a baby. So, and I now have this beautiful new option in the Hago app. So I can post an image where you see that Anne was born. So I'm just posting it right now. You can see Margot Frank is holding Anne, and her big sister Margot is looking at her. So this was Anne just as a baby when she was still living in Frankfurt, Germany. Because over there, she was born already a long time ago. Because that was in 1929 to be precise. And when I'm talking about 1929, most people, if they think about 1929, they think about something completely else, and that is in a way related to the story of Anne, because 1929 was also a famous year in history, because it was the year of the big crash on Wall Street. The big crash on Wall Street that made almost the whole world get into an economical crisis. So not only in the US, but also in Europe. And we were feeling that very hard, not only in the Netherlands, but also in Germany. So in 1929, the stock market went down, and a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were also, were losing their jobs. They were getting into poverty, and that was at the same time also the rise in Germany of the Nationalist Socialist Party of Adolf Hitler. So at the same time, and what he was doing, he was using that. He was using with propaganda the terrible situation where a lot of people were in at that moment. So he was trying to set up people, and he was also blaming a group. And what group he was blaming, and if you know a little about history, of course, you know that, but he was blaming or scapegoating the Jewish population. And it's all started soon after 1929. So the anti-Semitism in Germany was really, 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 really growing. So, and I will tell you a little more about that, also about the influence here in the Netherlands. But we will start to walk, and you will not see my face the whole time, because that's now I've shown it now enough. But we're gonna walk in the coming 30 minutes towards what we now call the Anne Frank house. And in the meantime, I will tell you several stories. And another thing is, I will also use several parts out of her diaries, because she wrote this. She wrote this, of course, between 1942 and 1944. So, and I'm gonna use several of the parts that she wrote about Amsterdam, about her life, about her situation, etc. So, and you're welcome, Anna. So, okay, I'm gonna change the screen, and then we're gonna walk. I'm gonna leave some. Okay, so just prepare myself. We are, by the way, on one of the most beautiful parts of Amsterdam. We're standing here next to the statues of some of the famous Amsterdam folk singers from the Jordaan, and the Jordaan is originally the poor area in the Netherlands. And the interesting thing is they placed several of the statues, and I was just realizing a lot of these people. I mean, I was saying, and Frank was born in 1929, but the most famous singer from Amsterdam was from 1924. But as you can see, he was not, I know that for sure, he was not Jewish. So he survived the war, as a lot of the other people that we see over here. But they are quite famous in the Netherlands from their folk music, the folk music that they are playing. But we will go to the canal over there. So it is really a beautiful day today. So we're lucky because it can be rainy, and we are here on one of the most beautiful canals of the city. Cold. I have to run a little because there are cars and everything. So, but it's one of the most beautiful canals over here. And Lou, what time is it? That's a good question. It is 10 minutes over 9 p.m. in the evening. So it's still light. So it is still light over here while we are going over the. I'm going to take you through Amsterdam and showing you some of the most beautiful parts of the city in the meantime. So, and Catherine, no, this one is not going to be virtual like last week. I'm just going to walk now and I'm going to show you things from the outside, but also one of the most beautiful parts of Amsterdam. And look how beautiful it is. It is now uh, 9:10. It is still sunny because the sunset at this time of the year is about 9:30. So and I'm now standing on the canal in Amsterdam, and look also how beautiful with the little flowers over here on the side. And then at the back part you see the Prinsengracht, the longest canal in Amsterdam, one of the most beautiful canals also in Amsterdam. So, but I want to go back to 1929, or that area in the 30s. 1929, he had the party of Adolf Hitler started, and shortly after that, to be precise, that was well, the boat is coming here. It was in 1933. Hitler came to power in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam. He came to power in Germany. So, and soon after that, the situation for Jewish people in Germany was starting to change. Was starting to change rapidly. So, what happened is that Otto Frank, the dad of Anne Frank, he was a businessman and he was thinking, I have to go away here. Let's move somewhere else. So he made the first plans, and in the end, in 1933, he decided to come to Amsterdam. To come to Amsterdam, to come to the neighboring country of the Netherlands, because over here, it was a safe place. It was a safe location over here to stay, compared at least to Nazi Germany. So at the end of 1932, he came already, and in 1933, the start of 1933, the rest of the family came. So Anne Frank was only 4 years old, and they started living. They started living not in the area where we are right now, but in the southern part of Amsterdam, what we now call Amsterdam Zuid, Amsterdam South. And that is, we are measuring everything in bike distance. But if you're cycling over there from here, that will take you about, it's about 15 minutes to get there. Walking, it is about 50 minutes in total to get there. And they were starting to live over there, and they had a very happy life. They had a very happy life. And the interesting thing is that Otto Frank, he loved to take pictures of his family, and this was in the 30s, so 30s and the 40s. So that was really in that time quite unique. And he took several pictures. For example, I have some of Anne over there together with some of her friends, just posing little on the little street where they were living at that time. So they were really, it was really going well with the family. And Anne was going to school, was going, by the way, to a Dutch school, of course. She was raised with German speaking parents, but she started to go to a Dutch school, and soon her Dutch was really good, like how it goes with kids, of course. So, but yeah, they were living in a typical 19th century neighborhood. Beautiful neighborhood, by the way. That neighborhood is still over there. We can still also go there and see the original house of Anne. And yeah, for several years it was going well. They were going to school. I can also have a picture of that. I have a picture. I'm now going to show it to you. This is the school class of Anne when she was about 10 years old. So this is Anne when she was at school, and she was going to, by the way, a Montessori school, to another school than her older sister. And the main reason was, well, it's a beautiful evening, by the way. No, the main reason is that Anne was really very small, very smart and independent. So her parents, uh, Otto and Edith Frank, were deciding that she had to go to a special school, to a Montessori school, where they could find something that was better on her level, or that was fitting a little better too. So, and no, Alicia, we will not go inside virtually on this tour. That is another tour that I will do in July again. So, I'm just gonna walk now with you, and I will tell you a little more. Now, we're going to 1940. In 1940, the start of World War II in the Netherlands. Start of World War II in the Netherlands. And yes, it was a big plot of kids, that's true. And Monica, I was just telling, because she was a very smart kid, very independent also. So her parents were thinking that the traditional school system would not fit Anne so well. So that's why they decided, let's take her, let's take her somewhere else. But in 1940, it was start of World War II in the Netherlands. So May 1940 to be precise. The Germans, the Nazis, they were attacking not only the Netherlands, also Belgium and France. And they captured the Netherlands in only 5 days. So, and that was also not so strange that it took them only 5 days, because you just have to imagine that the Nazis were coming over here. The Nazis were coming over here with their tanks, with like a big army. And the Dutch, yeah, of course, we were fighting back. But how were we fighting back? We were going to war. Our soldiers were going to war on their bicycles. So typical Dutch on their bicycles, like what we see all over here. So we didn't make a chance. We didn't have any chance against them. So soon after that, the Nazis took it over. And what happened over here that has been happening already before, thank you, John, that has already happening before in Nazi Germany, is that the Jewish population was becoming the scapegoats of the society. So bit by bit, they were making an outgroup of them, an outgroup from the Jewish population. So uh, what did that mean? And for that, I have to take you to 1942. In 1942, on her birthday, also June 12th, again, the day of today, Anne got a present. Of course, it was her birthday. It was 1942. On her birthday party, it was already that only the Jewish friends were allowed to come over there. But from her dad, from Otto, she got a diary. She got a diary. That was the diary where she started writing. And one of the first things that she wrote about the situation of the Jewish people in that time in Amsterdam was the following. And we hear some people playing some music at the other side. And no, she was writing shortly after she got her diaries. Jews have to wear a Jewish star. Jews have to hand in their bicycles. Jews are not allowed in the tram. Jews are not allowed to ride in cars, not in private ones either. Jews are only allowed to do their shopping between 3 and 5, except in specifically Jewish shops. So these were some of the this was some of the policy of the Nazis. They were making them an outgroup. They were making sure that Jews had less rights than the rest of the population. And why only getting to get some stuff in the shops after 3? Because after 3 you only have the leftovers. So only the leftovers of the food were good enough for the Jewish population. So yeah, so that was not really a good situation for Jewish people over here. So Otto Frank was thinking again. I mean, he was still a businessman. He was still living here. He was living here in Amsterdam and was thinking, what am I gonna do right now? So he was searching for some solutions to make the situation a little better. And what he did is he was trying to find another location to go to. Another location again. So first fleeing from Germany to the Netherlands, to Amsterdam, and he was looking, maybe I can go to Switzerland, but that was too tough. So, but he was also, a friend of him was saying, like, maybe you should try to get to the US, get a US visa. So he tried even 2 times to get a US visa, but he was denied. He was denied. So the asylum policy in the US was very strict. And the US government at that moment did not want all these Jewish people fleeing to the US. So he was denied. So he had to come up with another solution. So what he did, together with his helpers, or with his colleagues that were working with him in what we now call the Anne Frank house. Um, and yes, it's like a Monet painting. I know, it's really a beautiful evening. Uh, it's too bad that there's still some cars over here. Otherwise, it would really be the 17th century. No, but what happened is that Otto Frank was together with some of his colleagues. They were starting to think about, okay, maybe we can make a hiding place. And he had an office here on the Prinsengracht, on the canal where we are walking right now. And he was thinking, maybe I can make a hiding place. And that hiding place, that is what we now call the Anne Frank house. Well, we have this beautiful view still over the city. So they were preparing the hiding place, and then uh, on July the 5th, 1942, so only 3 weeks after Anne got her diaries, there was a letter. Margot Frank, her sister, her 2.5 years older sister, got a letter from the government, got a letter from the Dutch government, and in that letter, they were asking her to pack her stuff to come to a certain location some days after. And from there on, she would be sent to Germany to work. Of course, to work. We now know what that meant, but to work for the Nazis. So at the moment, and welcome Pepus, by the way, my great colleague. After Anna, also Pepus, thank you and welcome. Um, no, but they were saying like she had to come to Nazi Germany to work for the Nazis for the war, to help in the war. And look, in the meantime, on these beautiful flowers here on the side of the canal. It's quite beautiful. I don't know the name of these, but I love them. Trying to zoom in a little. um, no, but she got that letter, and at the same moment, the French were thinking like, oh no, now we have to get into hiding immediately. We cannot wait any longer. So the same evening, they started. Thank you, Julia. Cornflowers. Thanks, and Sue also. Cornflowers, good. Cornfields over here, just a canal. So that's why I'm a little. That's why I don't know the name. I think no, but they had to pack their stuff, and that was starting the evening of July 5th. And Anne wrote about something like this. I wrote about that situation. She wrote, Margot and I started packing our most important belongings into a school bag. The first thing I stuck in was this diary. And then curlers, handkerchiefs, school books, a comb, and some old letters. Preoccupied by the thought of going into hiding, I stuck the craziest things in the bag. But I'm not sorry. Memories mean more to me than dresses. And then they had to start walking. I told you already before, I was reading already before that Jewish people, they were not allowed to use public transportation, a bike or something like that. So they had to walk the whole way from their house all the way to the hiding place, to the Anne Frank house. And that is a 1 hour walk in total. And they were doing that very early in the morning, on the Monday morning, very early, and that walk is about 1 hour. 1 hour from the place where they were living all the way to the Anne Frank house. And what we are now walking, you all with me, is the last part of that walk. Maybe the last 10 to 15 minutes. So we're only doing the last part. But they were walking over here early in the morning. And Anne wrote the following about that walking. And I have to go back on the canal in the meantime. No, she wrote, fortunately, it wasn't as hot as Sunday. A warm rain fell throughout the day. The four of us were wrapped in so many layers of clothes. It looked as if we were going off to spend the night in a refrigerator. And all that just so we could take more clothes with us. No Jew in our situation would dare leave the house with a suitcase full of clothes. So you can imagine that they could not go over there with their big suitcases, because then people would they would maybe recognize them, and they were maybe thinking like, oh, there are Jews that are wanting to that are wanting to uh, that are wanting to flee. So, and she wrote the following about it. I'm just gonna show you my face because we have some construction work going on over there. So no, Anne wrote the following. I was wearing two undershirts, three pairs of underpants, a dress, and over that a skirt, a jacket, a raincoat, two pairs of stockings, heavy shoes, a cap, a scarf, and lots more. I was suffocating even before we left the house. And while we were walking in the pouring rain, because it was raining that early morning, but it was still summertime because it was July, so really hot. While walking in the pouring rain, the people at their way to work, uh, while walking in the pouring rain, the people on their way to work at that early hour gave us sympathetic looks. You could tell by their faces that they were sorry they couldn't offer some kind of transportation. The conspicuous yellow star that they were having to wear on their chest spoke for itself. So it was unbelievable. So they had to walk the whole way with all these layers of clothes, layers, layers, layers. I'm now gonna change the screen again. One moment. So there are some construction work, so I have to go over, but in the meantime, look how beautiful the church is with the sky and everything. So, hello. Okay, what is the name of the church? That's a really good question, but I will tell you a little more about this church soon. So, uh, now this is the Western Church, if I would say it in Dutch. In Dutch, it's the Westerkerk, and in English, the Western Church. So, a very original name that we all have here in the Netherlands. And I still have to go a little around some people alongside the construction. So no, but they were walking all the way, and after an hour, they arrived at the place that we now call the Anne Frank House. And the Anne Frank House is literally next to this church. It is at the other side of the road. We will see some more people over there. But I want to take you to a location where we can see it a little better. But you have to imagine, they were coming there on July 6th, early in the morning, and the hiding place was not completely finished yet. But they were trying with the colleagues to finish it as soon as possible. But they were hiding over there. They had to hide on a total surface of 42 square meters. Or in square feet, that is about 450 square feet only. Not with four people, not only with the Franks, no, there were also four other people uh, that were hiding over there. So it was really a lot of people on a very small space. And I know a lot of us have been in lockdowns in the last 2 years. In lockdowns where we were not allowed to go outside the house, or at least very restricted. But imagine in your house, in the location where you were for over 2 years in total. And not only that, they also had to keep quiet completely. So the house is over there. The house is over there, and Betty, I will come to that later. The house is over there. What we see over there, that's the Anne Frank house. So that's where they were staying with 8 people in total. And what Anne was writing about this is the following. She wrote in her diaries, during the day, we always have to walk quietly and speak softly. The people in the warehouse mustn't hear us. So they were scared that maybe someone would hear them. because you have to imagine that from the people that were working in the office, the front part of the house was an office, um, only 5 of them knew that there were people hiding. But there were also people working over there that were not knowing it. So they were the whole time scared. They were the whole time scared that they were maybe finding their hiding place. And Anne said the following about that. She wrote, "Not being able to go outside upsets me more than I can say. And I'm terrified their hiding place will be discovered and that we will be shot." So and also, one of the things is that most of the curtains in the house, in what we now call the Anne Frank house, were closed. But there was one little window at the attic. And from there, there was so high that there were no other houses looking directly into that window. And from there, Anne could just see a little of the surrounding. And one of the things, so imagine she was over there at the back part of this house. There was a little window. And what she could see was just the top of the Westerkerk. So that was for her a sort of the world outside. There's still a world outside. There's still things happening over there. And this church became very important for the Frank family. And because of what we're hearing right now, you hear the carillon playing. Have a good timing. They were hearing this. And now we have to wait. I think it's maybe doing, oh, it's 9:30 now. So every 15 minutes, the church bells are playing. Every 15 minutes. Yeah, there we are. There we are. This is what they heard too at that time. 2, 3, even 3, 4. That's interesting because it's 9:30. Yeah, Natalie, I also don't know. Maybe there's something going wrong in there. And yes, I'm on my way to the Anne Frank house, Marta. I'm very nearby at the moment. No, but the Westerkerk was very, very important. It is already 10, is it? Is it 10? I don't know. It's already 10 here in Amsterdam. It's but according to the clock, it's only 9:30. But I don't know. I'm now a little confused. But it is the thing is the Western Church was very important for the family because they had to hide the whole time, and there were people in the office at the front part of the what we now call the Anne Frank house that were still working over there. So that means during daytimes from 8:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the afternoon, they had to stay completely quiet. And the only thing how they knew the time was with the bells of the Westerkerk. So that's one of the things that Anne wrote in her diaries. And she loved it. She loved it from the start because already in July 1942, shortly after staying there, she wrote, "Father, Mother, and Margot still can't get used to the chiming of the Western Tower clock, which tells us the time every quarter of an hour. Not me. I liked it from the start. It sounds so reassuring, especially at night." So, and Nancy, that's a good question about the attic. And what I'm gonna do now is also show you because you're now very nearby the front part of the house. It's literally here at the other side. So this is the what we call the Anne Frank house. Let me also show you how it was looking in 1942. This is a picture of 1942. So you can see that it was still the same. Only there's now a tree in front, and it's summertime. So, but you can see it's still the same 3 houses there in the row, and the middle one is the Anne Frank house, is the hiding place. So, but this is the outside. This is the outside. And then the inside, there's also an inside, and or I can show you it from the side. So over here I have a picture, and where you see is that the first part of this picture, that was the office. The part at the left side. The part at the right side, if you open the picture, is the area where they were hiding. And they were hiding only on the top part. So the top 3 levels were the place where they were hiding. With 8 people on what I said already, 42 square meters, 450 square feet only. So it was only a very tiny place. So, and of course they had to be quiet. I said it already before. And they had to be quiet. So one of the things that Anne was doing while she had to stay quiet was reading. She was reading a lot, really reading a lot. And one of the things, one of her favorite books, was about a composer or a componist that I was playing at the start of this tour. That was a book about Franz Liszt. Franz Liszt, the famous composer, and she that was really one of her favorite books. And that was also because that music was some of her favorite music. So that's why I started the tour with some music of Franz Liszt. So just to remind that this was Anne, favorite, her favorite music. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you for that. So I'm now showing the Western Church from the other side. And I also want to tell you something else. So it was not only the Westerkerk that Anne Frank could see out of that window. There was also something else, and that's something else from the attic. And by the way, someone was asking why were they not using the attic. The attic was used for some storage, and it was also not very big. But you can see that the house is over here. That at the back part there's a tree. There's a tree. So all these blocks of houses, they have in the middle part, they have gardens. They have gardens, and inside the garden, and also the tree that we see over here, I don't know if you can recognize it, but I know that the tree over there is a chestnut tree. And Anne also had a chestnut tree that she could just see, and she loved to look outside, not only to the Western Church, but also to see the seasons and the changes in the tree, the colors of the different leaves. Now we have some work here on the canals, as you can see. Uh, I know the different colors of the leaves, and she wrote several times in her diaries about the chestnut tree. So, for example, um, she was writing in May 1944 the following: Our chestnut tree is in full bloom. It's covered with leaves, and it's even more beautiful than last year. And then about a year later, when she was with Peter, Peter was one of the other people in hiding. He was a boy, and she started to fall in love with him. So the two of them were uh, meeting each other a lot. And where they were meeting, in the attic while watching outside. And one of the things that she wrote about, she was staying there with Peter. The two of us looked out at the blue sky, the bare chestnut tree glistening with dew, the seagulls and other birds glinting with silver as they swooped through the air. And we were so moved and entranced that we couldn't speak. So imagine, she was 14 years old when she was writing this. I couldn't write like this when I was 14 years old. Maybe even not when I was 18 years old, or maybe even nowadays I cannot write like that. Unbelievable that a girl of only 14 years old was writing these kind of things. In the meantime, I am in front of what we now call the Anne Frank house, so the hiding place, and we're standing here in front of uh, the original entrance. And yes, Linda, I think you're right. Original entrance, Prinsengracht number 263, and we can see there's a small plaque with in Dutch Anne Frank Huis or Anne Frank House. And thank you, Sally. And because it is today a very special day, some people placed flowers in front some flowers to remind that it was her birthday today. So, but the area that we see over here was just the entrance into the office. So the area where they were staying was in the back part of this house. So not what we see over here. This was just the front part of the house. So and nowadays this is part of the Anne Frank house and the museum. The museum is here at the right side. More than 1 million people per year are coming over here. It is now 9:30, almost 10, and there's still people coming outside, as you can see. So they're opening it as long as possible because there are so many people who want to go inside. So, but back to the chestnut tree, because I didn't finish that story yet, because we were just at the entrance. No, this chestnut tree, she wrote several times about it, so it became a very important chestnut tree. But what happened then, in 2005, the Dutch government, or the Amsterdam government, they found out that the chestnut tree was slowly dying. Very slowly, it was dying. And they were saying like, okay, we have to do something about this. So they made plans to completely, thank you, Mary, to completely remove the tree, to remove the chestnut tree. And when that happened, there were a lot of Dutch people that were saying, like, no, we cannot do that. We cannot do that. We cannot let the famous tree of Anne Frank die. So they started the crowdfunding campaign to make a whole construction around it to keep the tree. So they were doing that shortly after 2005, and but yeah, we still knew that the tree was dying. So they were thinking maybe it is. Well, we're in the meantime looking at one of the beautiful flower bikes that we have everywhere in the city. That's for another tour, and I can tell you a little more about where this is coming from and what the reason is why we have all these bicycles in the city. And yes, it is also a beautiful night, that's for sure. No, back to the chestnut tree. It was dying. It was dying. And then what happened is that there was a very smart neighbor. And this neighbor, he was living, literally, I can almost show it over here. He was living in one of the houses, at one of the houses on the side of the Anne Frank house. And the chestnut tree, I was talking about the chestnut tree, that was partly hanging over his garden. So what he started doing in 2007 is at the end of 2007 is collecting the chestnuts. He was collecting the chestnuts, and what he did is he placed them on eBay. So because he wanted to make money with it. And I have to say, he made a lot of money. He made a lot of money by selling very original chestnuts from the chestnut tree of Anne Frank. So uh, that was 2007. And then when this came in the news, a lot of people here in Amsterdam were very angry about this man. They were saying like, you cannot do that. We cannot allow you to do that. So it was in the news, in the newspapers, on television, and in the end, this man, he said like, yeah, you're right. You're right. I made a mistake. I made a mistake that uh, I made a mistake that I was selling them. So he donated all the money that he made to the Anne Frank Foundation together with the lost chestnuts. But it also, the Anne Frank Foundation itself was then thinking like, oh, this is not a bad idea. So they started collecting the chestnuts. And that was really good because in 2010, there was a big storm. And with this big storm, the chestnut tree fell down and died. And that again, of course, was in the news. And just to give you an idea, I have a picture from this sad moment. You see over here, the chestnut tree, that's what's left of it. But what the Anne Frank Foundation did is they were starting to collect chestnuts themselves, and they were growing little Anne Frank trees uh, to send them all over the world. So nowadays, and I think that's really a beautiful story, but nowadays, all over the world, there are about 50 different Anne Frank schools all over the world. All of them, if has the right climate, have an Anne Frank chestnut tree. But not only that, also all the Holocaust museums. For example, Cindy, yeah, thank you for telling this, but a lot of Holocaust museums, like in Detroit, but also in Berlin and in Jerusalem, they have an Anne Frank tree. So they spread the Anne Frank tree all over the world. And there's even one uh, in the in the garden of the White House. So also in the garden of the White House, there is an Anne Frank tree. So it's a beautiful way, I think, of reminding what happened over there. So, and then an interesting thing is everything about Anne Frank is in the news if something is happening. And about 2 years ago, and I'm now going to share you another picture again. 2 years ago, there was a big article in the local newspaper of the last part of the Anne Frank tree. You can see it over here. This is the last part. But what you can also see just left from this, I don't know how you call the last part of tree, strong? No, yeah, strong or something like that. I don't know. You see that there's a little new chestnut tree growing. So out of the dead tree, a stump, a tree trunk, a stump. Okay, whatever. In Dutch, you're going to get stronk, so it's almost the same. But there's a new tree growing now. So that's really beautiful. Again, starters. Okay, thank you, thank you for telling me. I haven't done this tour in a while, so I forgot the word for it. The stump. Thanks. Um, but not only that, of course, also over here next, I was talking about the chestnut tree, but also the place over here, the Western Church, was very important for Anne. And because of that, they placed a little statue. Uh, they placed a little statue just next to the Western Church. So over here, we see a little beautiful statue with, now we can see it over here, Anne Frank, 1929 to 1945, because of course she did not make it. In 1944, in August 1944, there were some people knocking on the door, and most probably they knew that there were people hiding. So they found all the eight people that were in hiding, brought them first to a prison in Amsterdam, and later on, all the Franks and also the four other people in hiding were brought to the concentration camps, or to several concentration camps in all over Europe. And Anne and her sister, Margot, both of them did not survive. They died in 1945, in February 1945, only 3 months before the end of the war. So they didn't make it. And they died most probably from typhus. They got ill. And because today it is 12 June, so today Anne would have been 93 years old. So I decided to, you saw some, I decided to buy some peonies. So I have over here uh, one of these flowers. And you may be wondering, why am I, and Anna, she did not die in Auschwitz. She died in Bergen-Belsen, another camp. But uh, no, this is a peony, and why am I using a peony? Is because that's because that was her favorite flower. So she wrote about her favorite flower, about her favorite music that I played already before, and a peony was her favorite flower. So I just wanna place it over here. Let me just do it on her feet. So just let me get a little together with her favorite flower on her 93rd birthday, and that's also, oh. Let me try to do it again. There was a little wind coming over here. Come on, stay, stay. It's always windy in the Netherlands. Okay, do it like this then. So I placed a little peony in front of her while she's just standing here next to the tower that gave her so much comfort in the time that she was hiding here in the Anne Frank house, or that she was hiding just at the neighbors, of course. So it is, and it's one of these things that I really want to keep on telling, because nowadays, of course, still these kind of things are happening all over the world. Not only this did not only happen in the time of the Nazis, but it's still happening really all over the world. So, but yeah, after the Franks were captured, um, 7 of them did not survive. 7 of them did not survive. Only Otto Frank, the dad, he was the only one who did survive. So, and I'm not gonna show you my face again. He was the only one who did survive. The other ones all died in different camps. So and Otto Frank, after the war, he came back to Amsterdam, and he was still hoping that his wife and also his two daughters were still alive. But he heard already soon that his wife died, but he still had hope that maybe one of his kids would come back. So what he did for several months, every morning, he went to go to the Amsterdam Central Station. That's about 10 minutes walking away from here, to in the hope that they were maybe coming there with a train from Germany. So, but we now know, of course, he was waiting for nothing in the end. So later on, after some months, he heard that they died, and then he met one of the helpers. He went one of the five helpers that were helping them through the war, a woman named Mitris. And Mitris, she said to him, Otto, I have something for you. I have something that I found on the day that you were captured. So, and he handed over the diaries of Anne. So we always think that it's one diary, but there are basically four different books, because she was writing, and then after a while, she wrote it complete. That was filled completely, so she started the next one, and three of the four are found and were handed over to Otto. And what he did is he was reading about his own daughter, about her thoughts that he never knew exactly. And later on, about a year later, after talking to some friends, he decided to publish it. The first version, by the way, was not the version that we read right now, because he didn't want all the details at that moment. But nowadays we can read the full version. And he published it first in Dutch in 1947, and later on it was translated in several other languages like German and English first, and later on to a lot more, and became one of the most famous books all over the world, where a lot of people every year are coming to Amsterdam to see this for themselves. And the interesting thing is, and I want to tell you two more things, or want to read you two more things. So one of them is about what the writing the diary meant for Anne. And she wrote the following about this in 1944. When I write, I feel relief. My pain disappears. The courage returns. But I wonder, will I ever write anything of importance? Will I become a journalist or a writer? I hope so. I hope with all my heart. Because by writing, I can clarify everything. My thoughts, my ideals, and my fantasies. So imagine that. She wrote this, and now she is one of the most famous writers in the world. Unbelievable that she wrote this as a 14-year-old. So this is what she wanted in the end, that this was published and that she became a famous writer. And then the last thing, and that's, by the way, also one of the reasons why I'm doing this tour, because one of the things that Anne wrote is the following sentence. And she wrote, and that is my motto in life nowadays: how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. And I really think that is one of the things that we have to keep in mind. Don't wait by making the world a little better. And that's what I'm always trying to do. So, and just to give you an example, I also want to try to do that in this tour. And not only in this tour, but I'm also working as a private guide doing tours about Anne Frank. So what I decided already before I was doing virtual tours, by the way, is that from every tour that I'm doing, that part of the profits that I'm making, I'm donating to the Anne Frank House. So in the last years, every year in January, at the end of the year, I'm donating a little, part of the profits to the Anne Frank House. So we'll also do that with the tips that are coming in this evening for me. Part will be sent to the Anne Frank House, and next year, or in January next year, I will also publish on my Facebook group how much I have in total with, by the way, virtual tours and also with normal tours. Last year it was something like €350 or something like that, because I think it's very important that they keep on doing what they're doing, because what the Anne Frank House is doing, and that's what a lot of people don't know. Also, if you, for example, buy the diary, even nowadays, the profit that they make is going completely to programs against discrimination, against racism, against anti-Semitism, all that kind of things. All over the world, there are educational programs based on the story of Anne Frank. And we now know with the situation in Ukraine and Russia how important it is. How important it is that we keep on educating people, keep on talking about this, and to hopefully that this does not happen again. So that's for me a little thing. Uh, a little thing. Do you have a picture of her diary? No, I didn't. I don't have that, but I have the diary itself. One moment. So the book that I showed you also at the start, this like the red and white stripes, this is little like how her diary was looking. So, or at least one of her diaries. So not all of them, but one of her diaries was looking like this. That was a typical with a little lock, so she could even lock it, so people could not see her deepest feelings. So, how old would she be today, Trudy? She would be exactly 93 years old today. So she could have been alive. I mean, my grandma was 94 when she died, so she could have been alive still. That's the sad part. That's really the sad part. So, um, so if let me see if there's some more questions, because I can imagine I've been telling a lot, so let's see if I have some questions. Lisa is asking what happened to the fourth diary. We don't know. We didn't find it. Nobody knows where it is. So if you're reading the diaries, then you can also see that there's a part of the diary is missing. Is missing. So someone is like, is there the Anne Frank house? No, nearby. Oh, that's wow, Sharon. That's wow. That's heavy to hear that. Unbelievable. Has there been any theories about what the family could have been done different with the attic? And Nancy, the attic I was telling already was not very big, so there was not a lot of space, not really living space over there. So that's why they were not using it. So thank you, Corinne. Thank you also uh, for all the questions, for all the tips. Why isn't the Frank home open, Alicia? No, it is open, only I cannot go inside there. So if you want to visit the Anne Frank house, you have to go there yourself. It is an experience for yourself, also completely in silence. But what I can do, and I told that already before, maybe someone can share that link. In July, somewhere in July, I will go. I will go again. I'm taking you in virtual reality inside the Anne Frank house. So, and that's quite unique for two reasons. Because first, we will see it then without other people. So there are not hundreds of other people walking through the 42 square meters of space. And the second thing is that they reconstructed in the virtual version also the furniture. And we can go in the attic. We can see how the attic was looking. And in the actual house, you don't see any furniture, and you can also not go to the attic. So it is a little different. And yes, Eve, the stairs are crazy steep in Amsterdam. So, and Shoshana, I will repeat this tour in about 2 months from now, I think, something like that. Thank you, MFG. Thank you, Rhonda. If you like this tour and want to know, and Lee, yeah, that's also what I'm always saying. Like, just leave or buy like something in the museum shop or donate something. So because they're doing a lot of good things. So let me see. It's incredibly small. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Sarai, for sharing. Thank you, Betty. Hopefully that I see you again on one of the other tours. So you can follow me over there or over there somewhere in the screen. There's a follow button if you want more tours. They changed it recently. So Catherine, yeah, it was not completely dark yet. So, but the next one will be better, I promise. The virtual tour will be in July 22nd, I think. So. Thank you again. So, and yes, Mary, you're right. There were a lot of other people also, because you have to imagine that in Amsterdam there were about 80,000 Jewish people in total, and several hundreds of them were in hiding places. So not a lot, but of course, all the people in hiding places where they had helpers and were people taking care of them. So let's not forget. And Lee, yeah, I know the stairs are. And yes, Lisa, that will be over here on Hego. So on my profile, on my channel, you can see it is in July that I will go virtually inside again. So thank you, merci de rien. I think I'm very, and I also have a Facebook group, Linda. I think it's shared already somewhere. I cannot share it myself. And you can also buy the diary online for sure, Mariam. So you're welcome, Mary and Sally and MFG and Alicia and so yeah, so you're all welcome. I'm not keeping up with all the text. There is, by the way, another beautiful tour that will start in 1 minute from now from my great colleague Peppers in Barcelona. So if you want to see the Sagrada Familia, wonderfully lit up in the night, an immersive experience, then go and see him. So, and I'm gonna stop now, so I don't want to go over my time. Thank you, and yeah, you can go back to Peppers. He already did the tour before, but I can really recommend this tour. Okay, thank you for joining, and don't forget. Again, I'm gonna say it again for the last time. How wonderful it is that nobody needs to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. My motto, and I hope that is for more than only me. Thank you. Bye bye. Doei doei.